All right. Okay, let's build some stuff. So in the scene manager, you've got two icons there. The one that has a black box with a green plus mark, that's the one you want. Click on that, and you get a new scene. How do I know you get a new scene? Because if you look in your object manager, you have a scene object, which has the name of your scene, and a directional light. You've got to have a light, because how else are you going to see stuff? Turn the lights off, you don't see anything. You got it. And there's an eyeball there. You turn the eyeball on and off, and that turns the visibility of that object on or off. Okay, let's add something into the scene. We're going on along the lines of a video, so I would like to apply a video to a quad. So in your options there, primitives, you click that one time, you get a quad. And this is invisible, kind of like checkerboard pattern, Photoshop, right? For us to put something on that, you can go to your material manager. Now you know that this is selected, it's got a red box around it, it's also highlighted here. This is key when you're trying to apply a material to anything. So if you were to right click on that, you've got assign to selection, selection being the thing that you got selected. Look at that, we now have a map of the world. And that's because it was an image. We want a video, right? So go ahead and delete that quad. Notice it's called quad 1, which is what we will want to rename later. So notice the light here is red because this is selected. All right, another quad. Let's look at how big this quad is. You see how it's width and height? How big is it?
480 by 270.
Okay, 480 by 270?
That's what it says.
All right, that's what it is then. Let's apply that video to it. So we're going to go to the material manager. You can either hit the red teapot, but it's such a small dot. I just right click anywhere, new, and this time I'm going to get you to do a material. There is a video option, but that's cheating. We're going to do the long way material, because what that does is it brings up this material editor. You're going to see this a lot. If you're dealing with colors or fonts, you're dealing with anything, you're going to have this window. Videos, images, colors. So the very first thing that's highlighted is the name of the material. Kind of like we're telling you to name your stuff. All right, so let's call it anything you like, all right? You got video 1, perfect. Now, that doesn't make it a video. You'll see on the left-hand side here, there's a layer. Because I cannot describe what those two icons are, I just usually tell people to right-click on layer 1, add a shader. And from there, you've got a list of shaders. That first one is texture, which means image. Second one's video, which is what we want to get to. So we've got a whole bunch of other stuff in there. Some cool stuff. We'll play with some if we've got some. Well, we'll play with some tomorrow maybe. All right, so video. What that does is adds that video shader to that layer, and now we want to hit the triple dot at the top because we want to tell it what video are we actually going to be using. Very quick, yeah, very good. And what does it say?
Frame rate of source file is 2997. Frame rate of 5994 is advised.
Yes. So we're also telling you, hey, get your stuff lined up. So we're going to ignore that. We're okay with playing this video twice as fast. Yeah. All right. What I am going to get you to do is, so this is what this material will look like if it was placed on a 3D object that was a sphere and a cube. You drop down and just make that quad. Typically, video images, I'll leave it as a preview of a quad. Masks, I'll make it as a teapot. Because it has both concave and convex surfaces. It's just when you're looking at a whole bunch of materials, quickly kind of to distinguish between a video and image and a color or a mask, it's the thumbnail, is that preview. All right, but it does do nothing to the way the thing plays. All right, right now go ahead and hit OK. we need to now, just so we've made a material doesn't mean it's applied to anything. So material manager, right click, double clicking will do that as well. All right, cool, looks like a video. How big is that quad now?
Now it's 1920 by 1080.
Yeah, so that's just a function of the quad. The quad will resize itself based on that first time you apply the material to it. Second time, it keeps with whatever it's at. Delete that quad. Add a new quad. This time, make a slight adjustment to the width and the height. Okay, go ahead now and apply that material, that video. So notice it now, because we were thinking, you did that on purpose, you meant to do that, we're going to squeeze our video into fit. So this is where you can now create like little logo, a little bug that has an animation, especially if it's a loopable video. You now, hopefully I've now saved you from boring graphics. Okay, so it's not playing though. It's not moving. So there's an icon up here. That's this blue diamond. And it says enable or show continuous animation or an effects. You want to make sure that's selected. It is, right?
It's on.
It's on, yep. So it is a default function of adding a video to a material, that it's not set to play, auto start. So we want to get to edit that material. So a couple ways we can do it, because here at Ross we like to do the same thing, 4 different ways. You see there's a green M. That tells you that there's a material assigned to that object. You could double click there. You also can double click on the object in the viewport. You also can go to the material manager and you can right click edit material. And another last one, if you go to select your object, there is a materials tab in your object inspector, and look in red it's highlighted, so you right click on that, edit material, you're there. Also, no, you don't have a fancy button. Or does it? Assign material, material manager. But the material manager is just the right menu. But okay, anywho, that was enough, right? Let's see you remember those next week.
One's enough.
Yeah, okay, so video is the shader that you want to highlight. Notice you've got options in the right hand side here. A lot of, if you're familiar with Photoshop or After Effects, some of the language is the same, and so blending modes, that kind of stuff, be very similar. What you will, obviously it's not Photoshop. It's not going to have all the bells and whistles that Photoshop can do. But there is a run mode. You see that? You have a loop. If you drop down on those, the choices are stopped, which is kind of what it is. You have play once, loop, ping pong. So ping pong goes to the end, reverses, back and forth, back and forth. Especially if you don't have a loopable video, it kind of can work. But there is a checkbox that says auto start. So now if you look, if you move that, you see it's now playing. You also can change the preview frame. So whatever frame of video you have selected there, that's what the thumbnail will show. But you get the information about the frame rate and all that kind of stuff. You do have a way to do audio. You can create loop points, like a 3-point loop. There you go. Color blending modes. All yeah, so more stuff than you ever really will use, but it's there for you. Yeah. Okay. When you're happy and you know it, click OK. There you go. So we could look at this live as you edit, and to do that, if you find the thumbnail there, double click on it, Or you could drag and drop it over to your output. There it is there. So did you pick play once, or what was the, if you double click on that to get to the editor?
It's a loop auto start.
Click OK. Hit the Oh No button and then double click on it again. It's really not playing well, is it? Hey, it is a Windows machine. Try closing Xpression. And this, you'll notice it's asking, do you want to save? Yep, we want to save it. Close it out. Open it back up again. Got Amazon calling or texting. You also can go File, Open Recent as well.
Okay, let's keep
All right. Yeah. There we go. So it just needs a birthday. Hold down Control. Left click and drag that this object around.
Very responsive. While it's playing, no less.
Just because we had to restart it earlier, so I'm like, I don't want to go like get too cocky about it. It's like, yeah, why not? So, yeah, let's see your 3D rendering. Your After Effects do that. Saying that, if you are very familiar with After Effects, go with that. Export it out as a video. All right, so that's how you can get a video into a material onto an object. Now you can resize that. Let's do that. In your object inspector, so that's the bottom. Yep. Go to the quad tab. So the options are there, width and height, and you can lock the aspect so you can shrink and grow it and keep everything happy, right? There is the tessellation, so that's how many triangles are being used to render the stuff out. On a quad, it only helps to jack that up when you have a light that you might be shining on it, and so you don't get chunky edge of the light. But what I'm interested in showing you is the maintain aspect ratio. So best fit. Let's do that first. So now go ahead and take the quad and raise the height up. Now I'm going to show, so go back to the quad. So it's height. If you left click and hold the mouse and drag up and down while in that number field, you can make it, the value go up and down. You double click in that field, it goes back to what it was originally. But when you do that, do you notice what happens to the graphic?
A little bit of mirroring.
Well, it's stretching, right. It's actually repeating the edge pixel to fit. So that's what best fit is doing. We're maintaining the aspect ratio, but we're getting, 90s over the shoulder box effects.
Yeah.
So how do we mess with that? So if you stretch it out, so you've got lots of streaking, go down into the mode of that maintain aspect ratio. And if you do best fit cropped, you now will lose the top and the bottom because we have to stretch to fit, right? So crop is, we're not doing any stretching or squeezing of the image, we're just taking a section of that, right?
Yeah.
So this could be the background to our lower third. Problem is, it's a little bit too much. It's going to compete with any text that we might put on there. We're going to do some cool stuff. So go ahead, add a text object into your scene. Type something. You notice that it always comes up the top left-hand corner. It's always left justified. So just okay. We are going to mess with that font style. There you go. You notice in the object inspector we've got, if you were to change the face from Arial, so this is now any font that's installed on your system. It could also be any font that's in the project. So you could have a font style that's not on your system but in your project. Now you'll get this message because you've now changed it. Fonts are global to the project. Means I have made a font that is that font style with that size and it's being used in another scene. If you said OK here, it's going to make the change to the font, but it's also everywhere else it's going to change. So you see you've got a clone font option. So it's a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing if you decide, hey, I want my whole project to use this one kind of font style, and then make a change, every template gets updated. But then every template gets updated, things might fall off and may not fit. So clone font gives you the option, do you want to clone it for just the object that you've got selected, which says text1, because that's currently the text object that we've got selected, right? Or you convert none, which means it will create the new font style but not apply it to anything. So we want the first one. So now as you make changes and make size changes, you'll see here, you've got two font styles here, one that's being used. You also have, so let's make it much bigger. And let's make it 3D. So now you've got these tabs at the bottom for spacing options, and there are more. And you've got extrude, so we can make it deeper. We could have it poke through the quad. We can have it, because remember this is 3D. So we can move that background forward or backwards. The closer you move it forward, the bigger it looks. So it's like, there's a lot here. Oh, did he leave?
Oh, Professor Harris had a meeting.
Okay.
He said thank you.
All right. We didn't say thank you to me, but said thank you to you.
Oh no, he wrote on a piece
He
of
said
paper.
thank you to you, right?
No, he wrote on a piece of paper and said to tell you thank you from him because he had to leave.
Sorry, I'm telling you. Okay, so if you now control, left click and drag that, you'll see as you move, see now it's behind, right? So look at your transform tab and you'll see that the Z position is 0. If you make that a negative number, there you go. Now those are separate, right? Those are two separate objects. You can move one and then you can move the other. Yeah. So if you were to take your text object in your object manager, drag and drop it on top of your quad object. There you go. So now you've made a connection.
Parent-child relationship.
Exactly. So you move your quad, your text is now going to move along with it. Now maybe that video's a little too like, we may need to like make it a little, we colorize it. So double click on that quad, it'll open up the material editor for it. Or double click on the little M. Go back to the layer 1 and you'll see you've got diffuse. If you now pick a different color or like a darker color, it's almost like you're putting a gel.
Effect,
Yeah. So now you've got something that's a little muted and your text jumps out a little bit. But the parent-child relationship thing, very much so on all of our objects. Groups, you can group things. Turn the visibility of a group off and on, and it'll turn everything on and off.
Do you have to use the? Do you have to use the slider? Or can you input the X code for a color?
You can, yeah, good, very good question. There is your hex code.
Great.
So, you know what the values, what those numbers mean?
No.
All right then.
I use.
I get to tell you that.
Please.
So the hashtag is saying I'm a hex code, and it's got 6 characters.
Yeah.
So the first 2 are your red value, second 2 are your green, last 2 are your blue. So if he were to type in there 00FF00, hashtag 0, right? The number 0, not the letter 0. And click out like, you spelling it right?
F. It's not accepting it.
So highlight them all again. Oh, because we're in a different color space. How many numbers is there? So is there 6 numbers there?
Was.
Okay. So we're drop down on that. Pick out the first one. There you go. You notice that the color looked a little different there. We were in wide color gamut, so the hex codes may be different. Here you go. 0, black.
Yeah.
FF, white, or 100% of whatever color. Obviously, FFFFF is white. 0000 is black. Now, more advanced, there is what I call a pirate hex code in our dynamic material, where it adds 2 numbers to give you your transparency. So the why I call it a pirate hex code is because it says in the notes, it says hashtag AARRGGBB. So in my head I went, R.
So that means the alpha channel is
It's the first 2.
not the last 2.
Correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So we'll play with that some as well. All right, so click OK. You can copy and paste, duplicate materials, so you can have different versions. It can be all the same, but you can have different colored variants of your video. Your text itself. So right now you see how you've got like black on the sides, right? Go ahead and add another light into your scene. So you'll do that from your object library. And do another directional light. So directional light notice it gets a little brighter because now you've got 2 lights. Go to your transform tab, and you see there you got rotation. Do a rotation Y. So now you should see that is spinning we're rotating in the Y-axis, so you now can throw some fill light in there. Because the reason that it was black on the edge is because the default light straight from forward to back it's not lighting the sides. But our camera is in perspective, so as you move that around the screen, you'll see that your extrusion looks, we're looking at the thing in a perspective view. All right, because I know we're close to end of day, people turning into pumpkins. Click on continuous animation, hit new track. Change the channel from position X to rotation Y, and take the amplitude down. So now this thing is swinging 100 degrees one way and then 100 degrees the other way. and this graph here describes the animation. It's the animation curve. So the flatter the line, the slower it is. The steeper the line, the faster it is. So you'll see that it's kind of like the light falling. So 100 degrees may be a bit much, but maybe 30 degrees might be better. So now the offset, amplitude offset, you can left click and drag on that. So we can have it sort of just do 30 degrees over to the left. You might have to do a negative number for that. So the lights, direction light, it's an infinitely wide, infinitely tall light. All the light rays are going in parallel. Spotlight or point light is like the sun or a light bulb. Light shoots out in all angles. Spotlight, obviously, regular light. You have a cone, so there's a point at which you're behind the light, nothing lights up. So those lights can be parented to objects, so as they move around they've got their own lighting. Pittsburgh's just down the road, right? Are you
40 minutes.
do you follow the teams like the Pirates? So they have the same stuff you got.
Sure.
So they had the guy that's now one of the managers at Rocket Surgery did years ago it was 3D pirate ship for all the starting lineups where it's all done in Xpression and they're flying the camera through the scene and going to different rooms of the ship to show the starting lineup.
Huh.
So anyway, I know that guy, but that was always something that I would show as an example is on YouTube of what Xpression can do in the 3D stuff.
And it's not pre-baked, it's re-rendered in real time every
Yeah,
game.
because every game the starters change.
Yeah.
So nowadays they would build that in. It wouldn't fly stuff around, but that was before working for Ross, because he worked for the Pirates for years. Matt Zidek is his name. I like that dude. All right, so what can I show you real quick? New scene, real quick. Oh, it's Kevin, not Kevin, from Amazon. A new scene, not new project. All right, add in a sphere. So objects on the right side, sphere. Control left click and drag it to the top left hand corner. Notice that it will go kind of egg shaped. Go ahead and add a cube into the scene. And you can move that around so you can see it starts to get some perspective, right? Let's put a material on all of those. So select your sphere. This time go to the materials down at the bottom here. Yeah, use my stick. Double click on any of your colors and then click on this object. Notice you've now got multiple sides.
Oh.
You can do a shift select to select all of those and then pick a different color. There is your, and I think you might, okay, because that red and that red don't look the same.
Could be the light.
Could be, it also could be our color space that we're working in. All right, so double click on this to play it out. I'm going to get you to rotate that a little bit. So transform. And you're doing good with the left click and drag in, that's perfect. And spin it just a little bit so that we get some light catching the side. So Y rotation. There you go. Okay. So we are seeing these things in perspective, right? What if I don't want to see that in perspective? So you can add a camera. There's two camera styles. Add a ortho camera in. Now, you added, it's an object. You can move that around, animate it, but if we look in our main viewport, choose that camera, so it's ortho camera 1, look how things flattened out.
Huh.
So that circle is actually, it's not yet. When you hit active, now it is.
Aha.
Okay. So now if you rotate that around, it's in 2D instead of 3D, right? But the idea is wherever I move this, it's circular. Now what if I want both? Go to camera layer. All right, let's change this back to perspective or default front. All right. Drag and drop cube 1 into that camera layer. Nothing changes, right? But if we tell that camera layer to be the mode perspective to orthogonal, we now have something that's 2D. Go back to ortho camera 1. Uncheck active. There we go. So now we've got something that's 2D, that's something that's 3D. But if you do a control left click and drag, you're going to see that they don't interact with each other. So if you put them so that they're overlapped, because they are two separate render passes essentially. But if you take this camera layer and hit the blue up arrow, we're reordering the order. So you do one more time. So it's at the top. Okay, it didn't go. That's because if we grab our scene object and go to the rendering tab and set it to be manual, there we go. So now it follows a reverse Photoshop. So the layer order is now, you can either drag it or you can use the up and down blue arrows or control up, down, left, right. So if you need to reorder layers. Okay, I'm trying to keep it like exciting, so that you'll come back tomorrow.